Good morning, and welcome to another edition of the World of Naturopathic Medicine with me, your host, Dr. Veronica Hayduck. For this morning's segment, I'd like to talk about insomnia, following up on the previous discussion of fatigue, which of course go hand in hand. If you're not sleeping well, of course you're going to be tired throughout the day and drudge along and just not feel good. And poor sleep can certainly lead to chronic illnesses, and you just don't feel better, feel good, or heal well if you're just tired all the time. And frankly, you're kind of a drag around everybody around you when you're just tired, more snippy, more irritable. So it's important to get good quality sleep. Yet as a doctor, I understand how frustrating and elusive good sleep can be. But we need to make it a priority and do really whatever it takes. There are pharmaceutical medications out there, of course, but a lot of people find that the dependency on them, so now they're stuck having to take something to go to sleep. As a naturopathic doctor, I don't find this very natural at all to have to take a medicine just to do something that should be so natural and intuitive to our bodies. For some people, the side effects are just horrible. They wake up groggier and they're even more tired than they were to begin with. And then there are plenty of people where those just don't work. So some things to think about. Basic sleep maintenance, which I don't think a lot of doctors pay a whole lot of attention to or just don't have time. So really should have your room be a place where good sleep should happen easily. This begins at about a half an hour before you're going to bed and really winding down activities. The TV, the computers, our cell phones, those screens with the wrong lighting stimulate our pineal gland, which regulates our circadian rhythms and tells us when it's time to wake up and when it's time to go to sleep. So having that kind of stimulation, that kind of light all the time, it's not what's natural. It's certainly only been in the last few hundred years, if that 100 years, that we've even had light as a species. We've had thousands of years where we wake up with the sun and we kind of wind down when the sun goes down. So turning off those gadgets and focusing on good quality sleep before you head off to bed is really essential. Having a bed that's comfortable for you. This may need a new bed. Recommended every 3 to 5 years that you get a new one. Certainly more expensive does not necessarily mean better. Trying them out, fitting one that fits with you, fitting with your bedmate, making sure it's a good fit for the both of you. Some other things to think about is certain lighting temperature are important. So you want a dark, cool room. So maybe blinds to block out the light, eye patch. I like white noise machine. I even travel with mine. It just makes a constant noise so I can drown out the sound of the dogs and the traffic and helps me sleep just tremendously. Fan against the wall is another idea, not blowing on you, but just to make repetitive noise so those little extraneous ones just don't wake you up, especially for sensitive sleepers. You also want to make sure the room is dark enough. Again, you don't want a whole bunch of light, especially in the morning, that could be waking you up sooner than you like. Heavy metals are something that I do see quite a bit when people are just so frustrated with can't get to sleep. So it could be lead and mercury issues looked at. That's with the urine test. It's certainly not something that I try right away, but it is something that I think is important enough that people should pay attention to. Blood test isn't all that accurate. It really just needs a specialist. But if you've tried everything and all the tips and all the drugs and just not getting sleep and staying asleep, I'd have your heavy metals looked at. Again, making sure the body's getting all the nutrients that they need is so important. Looking at mineral levels are great. Looking at well hydration, toxicity, all the things that I've mentioned before, the things that you do for good sleep is so important. The other thing that I wanted to go back to and mention is going back to your bedroom and thinking about electronic magnetic frequencies and radiation. So we want a dark room, a cool room. We want our gadgets turned off about a half an hour before. But you might not want to store your cell phone or computer, anything that receives a signal from space, near your head. You might want to keep it about 6 feet away from your head. And I'd also ask your spouse or husband to do the same thing with his phone. It really can and does make a big difference. Certain meters for electricity have high frequencies and they're often installed on the sides of the house and people don't notice that. I've had a few patients where they've moved to a different room to make a difference of it. I've had one person even move out of her home because she found a new cell phone tower was up in her neighborhood and her room is now Grand Central Station. So it's not just a need for pharmaceutical medications, it was just looking at why is it that we could sleep and now that we can't sleep and what are we going to do about it. There are some great herbs that we can certainly try. Valerian is the most calming and sedating we have. There's also skullcap or scutellaria. There's avena or oats, chamomile, which many of you may be familiar with, and teas are lovely. But for some folks, they'll find that the tea, that liquid from the tea is going to have them go to the bathroom and hard to go to sleep if you're up going to the bathroom all the time. So I often recommend tinctures, which are herbs and liquids. You can just do a few drops about half an hour before going to bed. And the best piece of advice that I can give is to jot down your to-do list. Send yourself an email like I do, because most people are waking themselves up going, I got to do this, I got to do that. Send yourself an email, and you can have a gentle reminder of, hey, self, I've already got this taken care of. Be the first thing that I do in the morning. And many, many people, me as well, just find can go to sleep and stay asleep a lot easier without those distractions, having repetitive thoughts. Whew, that was a lot to talk about, and there's plenty more that we can do. I thank you so much for your time. Again, my name is Dr. Veronica Haydock, and have an excellent afternoon.